Welcome to Dodgers Dugout Live, presented by Baja Blast, the official soft drink of Major League Baseball and Dodgers Nation. Get a Baja for a blast this MLB season and enjoy a refreshing splash of tropical lime flavor. We've got so much to get into. Edwin Diaz is out. He's set to undergo surgery tomorrow. We'll give you the latest, everything you need to know. When will Sugar be back? When will we hear Timmy Trumpets back at Dodger Stadium? Also, who will close games for the Dodgers with Edwin Diaz out? Will the Dodgers stop spending big money on elite closers? We'll talk about that. Also, who do the Dodgers bring up? We'll get into him and everything you need to know about the newest Dodger on the roster. And the Dodgers rock the Rockies. They blow out the Rockies and get the series split. We'll break that down. And Craig Counsell had some interesting thoughts on Shohei Ohtani ahead of the Dodgers-Cubs series at Dodger Stadium this weekend. That is coming up next on Dodgers Dugout Live. Team is going to 3.
Nothing brings us together quite like Dodger baseball.
Los Angeles wins it 3-1.
The Dodgers are ruining baseball. Let's get 4 more wins and really ruin baseball.
Oh my goodness! Shohei Ohtani! Whoa! Bounces one up the middle, bats to the back, over to first to beat the champ. You gotta knock him out. The Dodgers stand tall and win back-to-back titles.
Big blue, bleed blue, and I'm out.
Live from the heart of Los Angeles, this is Dodgers Dugout Live with your host, Doug McKain.
What is up, Dodgers Nation, and welcome to another episode of Dodgers Dugout Live, the #1 Dodgers podcast and Dodgers show on YouTube. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. If you haven't yet, do us a huge favor. Hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, drop a like, drop a comment down below. Today's Dodgers Dugout Live poll question of the show. I did ask you guys over on the X, who do you want to see close games for the Dodgers with Edwin Diaz out for an extended period of time? It was close. It certainly was. But right now, the poll, let's check on it. We've got 63% say Alex Vesia, 10% say Tanner Scott, 23% say Roki Sasaki, and 4% say closer by committee. So let me know down below, what do you want to see the Dodgers do with Edwin Diaz out? And we'll break down today's game. We're going to hear from Dave Roberts, Miguel Rojas. We'll hear from Justin Wroblewski. Robo, my favorite of the young Dodgers pitchers, because he gets it done. He posts and he finds a way to get the job done by any means necessary. Not going to lie, I'm kind of sick as a dog right now, but you guys know if I'm alive, I go live. So let's get into it. The hottest story in Dodger baseball.
Leading off, the hottest story in Dodger baseball.
All right, so the hottest story in Dodger baseball is today the Dodgers announced that Edwin Diaz is going to be out for an extended period of time. He is having elbow surgery on Wednesday. And he was originally placed on the 15-day injured list ahead of the Dodgers series finale against the Rockies at Coors Field. The team reported that Diaz has, quote, loose bodies in his right elbow and is going to undergo arthroscopic surgery in his right elbow. It will be Wednesday at the Kerlan-Jobe Orthopedic Clinic in Los Angeles. It's going to remove those loose bodies from his elbow. The Dodgers are saying that he's expected to return at some point in the second half of the season. So I'm not going to take a victory lap here because, to me, I don't want to see any players injured. But this is what, if you've been watching this show every single day, I have been suspecting. If you watched the show earlier today before the news broke, what did I say? I said, shut Edwin Diaz down. The guy is not right. The velocity was low for his career. He's averaging 95.7 miles per hour on his four-seam fastball this season. That's a mile and a half lower than his previous career low. So red flags everywhere. Something's wrong. And after he blew that save on April 10th at Dodger Stadium by giving up 3 runs in the 9th inning, the Dodgers gave him 9 days off before he saw some action again, and on Sunday, his first appearance since that long break, he didn't retire any of the 4 batters that he faced. He allowed 3 runs. Dave Roberts said after the game, quote, "Today was a tough evaluation. I mean, it really was, because I know what it's supposed to look like, and when it doesn't look like that, it gets a little concerning, really, and so I'll have a conversation with him. I know our training staff and pitching guys will, and they're going to make sure there's nothing to it, because the radar gun has been consistent and his velocity has been consistent in that, and he wasn't there tonight. I got to know more." So Dave said he was concerned, and that clearly leaked to the next day. And now with the Dodgers roster, you don't have a ton of healthy pitchers on their 40-man. River Ryan and Paul Gervais, they're on the injured list. Ronan Kopp, he was just added to that 40-man roster in November. He did pitch Friday and Sunday for AAA Oklahoma City, so Kopp was not an option. And then the newest Dodger, righty Chase McDermott, the Dodgers pitcher that they picked up from the Baltimore Orioles last Thursday, he had pitched on Saturday for AAA. So the one remaining pitcher was Jake Eder, who the Dodgers picked up from the Washington Nationals on April 1st. So he hadn't pitched since last Thursday for OKC, through 17 pitches in 1 inning, gave up a couple runs on 3 hits. So he hasn't been great in 3 games with the Comets. He's given up 2 runs in 5 1/3 innings, 3 strikeouts and 2 walks, but he's a fresh arm, and that's what they're looking for. And we know where the Dodgers sit right now. And that is as a team that is playing for October, that's playing for a three-peat. And before the doomers step in and say, Edwin Diaz is a bust, why do they give Edwin Diaz $69 million? What is Kike Hernandez doing, talking Andrew Friedman and the front office into signing Edwin Diaz? I will say this, that obviously, ideally, Edwin Diaz is healthy for the duration of the season, but just think about this for a second. Could it cost you some games in April, May, June, July, August, September? Sure it could, because Edwin Diaz, when he's right, can rack up 50-plus saves for you. He also simplifies the bullpen where you're not working from the back end in leverage situations, meaning that Dave Roberts doesn't have the luxury now to use guys that really are at the level of closing games and getting those final 3 outs, the Tanner Scotts of the world and the Blake Tryons of the world. He's going to have to call on those guys to get critical saves at the end of games. Because, look, the truth is you can have the most high-leverage game-deciding moments against the 7th and 8th and 9th inning lineups, and that's always going to be a decision he's going to have to make. I mean, if you're facing the top of the order in the 7th or 8th inning, you're going to have to go to your high leverage guys, and then who do you close the game with? So the way that I think that if you're looking at this from a positive standpoint, stay with the positive, and then we'll go to the negative, okay? The positive is, 1, if Edwin Diaz pitched this entire season and he wasn't at 100% and he was just pitching because he had signed that big contract, so he felt like he had to live up to it, so he was pushing past his health limits, then by the time that the Dodgers made it to the postseason, maybe you would have had an out-of-gas, injured Edwin Diaz. Now, like I've said for the last couple of weeks, they needed to treat Edwin Diaz like they treated Blake Snell last season, in that you do not push him through anything, and now their hand is forced because he's going to go surgery. But now we could see an Edwin Diaz that is going to be similar to Blake Snell in that, yes, he's going to have surgery, and that is something that you don't want to play with, but he hopefully will be fresh for the postseason. So the positive is that you're not going to burn Edwin Diaz down to the ground in the regular season. And then two, this happened early enough in the season where he is going to have enough time to return and hopefully become the pitcher that he's been for most of his career. Because I've got news for you. the knee clearly is giving him issues. The elbow gave him some issues. And this version of Edwin Diaz was not going to be dominant in the postseason. So something had to be done, and that something was surgery. You hate to see it because I was looking forward to hearing Timmy Trumpet Narco and getting down with the trumpets all summer long. That's not going to be the case. We will not see Edwin Diaz until after the All-Star break. Here, let's listen to Dave Roberts, who talked about everything that transpired, because I know there's people out there that are saying, oh, Edwin Diaz has been pitching through this and he knew about this. A lot of times with this type of injury where you've got this issue in the elbow, well, a lot of those situations are you don't feel it until you do. And anytime you got those loose bodies, it is asymptomatic until all of a sudden you feel it, and then it starts to spiral. But here, let's listen to Dave Roberts. Here, what he had to say. He was asked about the future of the closer role for the Dodgers this season, and I'm going to tell you why I think he shut it down pretty affirmatively when he was asked the question.
Well, Dave, obviously the news today is Edwin Diaz. You had mentioned last night that he just didn't look right. What led to the decision then, I'm assuming, to have imaging to understand that there were some loose bodies in his right elbow?
Yeah, well, obviously we all saw, the stuff last night, and it was set up, red flags. And so after the game, he had a conversation with our training staff and felt that he had some elbow discomfort, and kind of looking at what was going on last night. So we just wanted to be proactive and felt that it was smart to get an MRI, get imaging, which we did do, and it showed loose bodies. And so it happens with players, and so it just kind of came to a head last night, and so we felt get the surgery scheduled and expect a second half return.
Considering it is so early in the season, does this at least feel somewhat like best case scenario of finding out this now, being able to schedule the surgery and putting him in a position in which he could be available second half?
Yes, yeah. I think given, you losing your starter to a surgery, this is, I would say, best case scenario.
Just to be clear, yesterday was the first time he mentioned anything about the elbow?
Yep.
Did he say if it had been bothering him before, or that was the first time he felt it?
First time he felt it. And so, not to make it about myself, but I had that same surgery at the end of my career, and it's something that just, you have loose bodies and they're asymptomatic until they're not. And so I can kind of relate to, what he was going through. So it just happened last night, and it's unfortunate.
How long did it take you to come back?
It was like I don't recall. It was that 2008 season for me, so I don't really recall.
Does that provide some clarity as to why the velocity was maybe down to start the season?
It does, and so I think for us is but again, that's the first time that we felt or he felt anything or there's any signs of it. So as soon as we found out, we try to do something about it and get imaging, and it was telling and giving us good information, and to then now go ahead with the surgery. So yeah, but it is good to have some validation on why, the velocity was down.
And it was just the loose bodies, or wasn't anything with the ligament or anything else?
Nope, not at all.
When you say the second half, what is realistic? Do you kind of have a time frame of what you guys are looking at?
I don't think so. I don't think so. I think that just to be vague and broad kind of gives us some wiggle room, because I don't think anyone knows. Yeah.
As far as the closer situation now, who closes for you? Does it go back to Tanner?
Yeah, I would say, I don't know that. There could be a big spot in the seventh where I feel that could be the game. And so I do feel comfortable with, a handful of guys really that I feel that can close out games for us. So right now I'm not going to name a closer.
How drastically does that change the way you use the bullpen now, though?
It does change it in a big way. I do think that, being able to deploy guys in their right lanes or pockets, I think has been helpful. But with that, I do think that, Alex has been throwing the baseball really well. Tanner's been throwing the baseball really well. And outside of last night, Blake's throwing the baseball really well. So, but it does kind of not allow us to work, from the back end, which is certainly a luxury.
What does that mean for the timetable for Brock and Graterol and the importance of getting those guys back?
Doesn't change their timetable, but the importance certainly is heightened. Brock is the first one coming back, and he's had 2 good outings. So, but yeah, but it doesn't change what we do with their programs, though.
Is Phillips ready to start a rehab assignment?
Not yet. And I haven't got word on when his first rehab assignment's going to be, though. No.
How much more does Brock Stewart need?
So I think he's had 2. I don't know. I would assume that. I would assume 5 would be the floor, because you got to do the back-to-back and potentially if there's an up-down in the progression. So I'm not sure, but I would assume 5 is a safe floor.
Watching him yesterday, did you think something like this was a possibility?
No, I didn't.
So there was Dave Roberts talking about the news of Edwin Diaz. A couple takeaways from that is that he did not say, hey, I'm going to designate a closer. And he mentioned Alex Vesia very quickly there. I think that they are going to do closer by committee. But think about this. Since Edwin Diaz blew his save, well, hey, there's been 2 saves recorded. Both of those were from Alex Vesia. So as long as Tanner Scott, who has a sub-2 ERA, he's pitched a lot better with this role where he doesn't have to be that push button everyday closer. I think this makes a lot more sense for him to just stay in that high leverage role and give it to Alex Vesia. I see some comments here. First of all, let's read some comments here. We got Terry Hestigles, Dodgers Nation After Dark. Hello. Hashtag language. We got Tom Vernia, DMAC. What do you think about bringing Kopech back? He is still a free agent. I'm going to dive into that. There's a reason why a guy like that isn't signed. So, to expect that Michael Kopech is going to come back and solve the Dodgers' problems is unrealistic. But, hey, if he's looking to come back and he's going to throw, I'm sure the Dodgers would be interested in being there. We got Nico Suave, Dalton Rushing, Dalton Crushing would be a starter on almost every team in Major League Baseball. Once again, you were right, DMAC. Hey, was I not right about Dalton Rushing, guys? Come on now. But yeah, I see most of you guys too talking about Graterol. The guy who's going to come back is going to be Brock Stewart. That's the guy who's going to come back at some point in May. By the way, people telling me I look like John Travolta trying to be with my silky shirt. It ain't that silky. I don't know why the camera. It's just, it's a little. I was doing something. I just threw something on. Like I said, I don't feel good. I feel sick, and it's because we're not going to have Narco by Timmy Trumpets. I was looking to get down at Dodger Stadium all summer long. We have to wait till after the All-Star break. So that is the timetable. Now, the other thing that you guys know crossed my mind was, what does this mean as far as trades? Because, you bring up a guy named Jake Eater. He's not going to be the guy to be eating innings really for long stretches for this team. I think that for him, he's just kind of a quick thing. But I look at a Dodgers team that's going to stay fluid, because the next question is going to be, especially with the performance of Justin Wroblewski, if Blake Snell comes back, and when Blake Snell comes back in May, towards the end of May, well, look at this rotation. Yamamoto 1, Blake Snell 2, Glasnow 3, Ohtani 4. And I'm just saying all those guys in an order. They're all 1s, but that's 4 right there. Justin Wroblewski 5. And then, after that, Roki Sasaki. Will Roki Sasaki continue to pitch? Will Roki Sasaki continue to get those opportunities? Because the way that it is mapped out right now, if he struggles and he's not going out there consistently giving you 5 or 6 innings and he's taxing the Dodgers bullpen, at what point do you say, hey, maybe Roki Sasaki goes into the bullpen at least after he gets 10-plus starts. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I've told this to you guys numerous times that I would prefer to see Roki get more experience down at the minor league level as a starter instead of doing the panic thing and taking your number one pitching prospect and throwing him into the bullpen. I just don't think they are going to do that. But I do think this does increase the chances, like what we talked about earlier, where you are going to see Roki have a prominent role in the bullpen when it matters most. I said this the day the Dodgers signed Edwin Diaz, and I'm almost hoping I could go back and not say this, but I said, guys, as excited as we are about the Dodgers signing Edwin Diaz, we know somehow, some way, the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, but it won't be Edwin Diaz getting the final 3 outs because things happen. And usually it's the starting pitcher that gets the final 3 outs. 1988, it was Oral Hershiser. 2020, it was Julio Urias. 2024, it was Walker Buehler. Last year was Yoshinobu Yamamoto. But that doesn't mean that you weren't expecting to have a big year from Edwin Diaz, and you're paying him a ton of money to do just that. And then I think it's interesting. I mean, the Dodgers calling up a left-hander. I mean, they're in pretty good shape with lefties with Vesia and Tanner Scott and Jack Dreyer and Justin Wroblewski. Really is a swing, but mainly a starter right now. The top pitchers in ERA, you've got Ohtani and Yamamoto, and then all those lefties. Those are the best pitchers on the Dodgers. The right-handed relievers, not named Will Klein, Blake Strider and Gardner Henriquez, Kyle Hurt, and Edwin Diaz, they have not gotten off to the best start. But, I mean, that's probably going to change at some point, and that's just mainly just because of the availability of the names. I mean, do they give Bobby Miller an opportunity when he comes back at some point when he's not hurting? Does River Ryan get called up? What's the status with Gavin Stone? We'll see him in a couple weeks. I think really this hinges, especially the regular season, on Brock Stewart. You need him to come back and get healthy and provide a bump for this team. But yeah, look, those are the available arms. And guess what? At some point, one of those guys is getting injured too, because that's just what happens. Now, they showed us last year that even without a real mapped out closer, that they weren't willing to go big on Mason Miller or Johan Duran. So I don't expect them to tap into the reliever market as that takes shape. I mean, you don't even want to name a guy right now just because the volatility of the reliever spot. You want to see how guys are pitching on a year to year. I'm sure they're going to add an arm because they do, but really the thing to do would be, if you are going to add a starter, if one of those frontline guys goes back and then one of those guys goes into the bullpen, the only issue is your 1 through 4 is already locked up for the postseason. It just truly is. If everyone stays healthy, you've got enough ace-level pitchers that you're not going to, even if you added Tarek Skubal, who's going to go to the bullpen? Tyler Glasnow? I don't know about that, right? There would have to be multiple significant injuries, season-ending injuries to the front of the rotation to even consider Tarek Skubal. But this is not good. It hurts because you gave him $69 million, and he's already out for the entire season. Like, I'm not trying to sugarcoat that. I'm just trying to point out the positives that this could be a lot worse. He could be done for the season, and there's no coming back. Hopefully, this is it. He comes back, and he returns as the pitcher we know him to be. But I would be surprised, I'd be downright shocked if the Dodgers spent north of $60 million for a reliever in the next couple of seasons. They're probably going to find ways to add guys other ways, because the truth is that position is volatile, and when relievers enter free agency, the really good ones, there's a lot of mileage on those arms, and the chance of them always replicating the success they had that led to that free agency, that led to those big contracts, it's a little unlikely. But the good news is, look, Tanner Scott is showing that he's having a bounce back year so far. It's very early, and you trust that Edwin Diaz can come back and help this team. Not the end of the world, but this is the first big injury. And then, look, I mean, the other bright spot is he tore that patellar tendon in his right knee in 2023 in the WBC when he was celebrating. Hopefully, this helps that. I'm also curious what that MRI looked like in the medicals before that deal was done with the Dodgers. I'm very curious. I mean, if I could be a fly on the wall, I mean, what was that conversation like? Did they see anything in his knee? Did they see anything in his arm? Really, that whole passing of the medicals is at the discretion of the team. So I'm curious to see how that went. And, hopefully he can get better. Now, the good news is the Dodgers made you feel a lot better tonight with their performance. They did not lose a series to the Colorado Rockies. The bottom of the Dodgers order was on fire. Another multi-home run game for Dalton Rushing. And we'll talk a little bit about that. Then I'm going to talk to you guys more about Edwin Diaz. But 12 runs for the Dodgers tonight. An absolute curb stomping for the Dodgers in this one. And this was a game that you just wanted because of those stupid trolling Rockies doing the fishing reel, just because Dalton Rushing said it was a little fishy the other night that they were so aggressive early in counts. But let's talk about the big takeaways from this game. I think the first big takeaway is Dalton Rushing, Max Muncy, the Dodgers power hitters are continuing what we've seen from them. You had 2 home runs from Max Muncy. Miguel Rojas hit his first home run of the year. Dalton Rushing had 2 home runs. He's up to 7 on the season. And this game was one that was really indicative of how powerful this offense is. A 12-3 win, and it's been a really good year for Max Muncy against left-handed pitchers. Max Muncy has really had success against southpaws. We saw that again in this one. And the Rockies, hey, they get off to a good start because Wroblewski, he goes out there, and the one run he gave up was in the first inning on a Brenton Doyle RBI double. And that was all that Wroblewski would give up in his 7 innings of work. He had just 3 strikeouts, but no walks. And he gave up just 2 hits in runners in scoring position. So, I mean, that's just really incredible. I mean, he really takes advantage of these pitches that he works in the zone to generate soft contact, and he executes pitches in big spots. And the Dodgers offense, they were on fire tonight. Max Muncy, Miguel Rojas, they went back-to-back jacks in the second inning. That gave the Dodgers a lead that they held for the rest of the game. And the Dodgers lineup was constructed to Cook, Quintana, a left-hander, and they absolutely did that. Alex Call, Santiago Espinal, Rojas, they were all in the lineup, and they combined to go 5 for the Dodgers' first 10 hits. Miguel Rojas, he got his 1,000th career hit with a single in the 4th inning, so big shout out to Miguel Rojas. They threw the ball into the saver area so he could save that, which was awesome. And then, hey, you just went off on this team. The Dodgers also took advantage of some blunders by the Rockies. The Rockies misplayed a really very routine ball, a ground ball in the 3rd inning. That would have led to a double play, but that miscue led to Will Smith reaching on an error, a run scored. Then after that, Teoscar Hernandez, he did hit into a double play, but it did make it a 4-1 game. And then the next inning, Quintana, he was going up against Shohei Ohtani with the bases loaded, and it looked like it was going to be another double play, but there was a balk that moved the runner over, and Ohtani would eventually ground out, and Alex Call did not take advantage of it. But these innings just kept surfacing where Colorado could not get out of it because of the Dodgers' pursuit and relentless at-bats and just flat-out mistakes. And then the 6th inning, after Quintana exited the game, there was a base-loaded walk by Alex Call to make it 6-1. And then the Dodgers would end up stranding 3 runners there. But in the 7th inning, Miguel Rojas had a bunt that led to an error by the pitcher. And it was a crazy game. In the late innings, you saw more home runs. Muncy hit his 2nd home run. Dalton Rushing hit a couple of home runs of his own to bring his total to 7. So, yeah, I mean, what was crazy about this is that this is a Dodgers team that went 3 for 15 with runners in scoring position, and one where 4 of the 5 home runs were solo bombs, And their 6 through 7 hitters, their 6 through 7 went 11 for 17. So it was a crazy game at Coors Field, as you would expect. And guess what? The Dodgers got the series split. And now if you look at the standings, we're looking at the Padres because everyone's afraid of the Padres for some reason. Come on now. It's 16-6 record, a game up on the Padres. The Padres sitting at 15-7. And the Padres, they're giving credit. They're playing good baseball, but they were off today. So the Dodgers, they picked up half a game. All right, let's hear from Miguel Rojas, who hit his first home run, got his 1,000th hit. It's always great to hear from Miggy Rowe.
Miggy, you had yourself quite a day at the plate. 3 hits, including a home run. When you look at just the results, and it felt like you and Max Muncy together got Jose Quintana out of this game. What were you seeing from him? What led to the results you had today?
Yeah, I mean, I just credit everything to my preparation against left-handed pitching. I know my role on this team, and just being ready for the opportunity as always. It's pretty cool. Something that I accomplished today, getting to 1,000 hits in my career, is something that I mark on my calendar for this year. So pretty cool, personal, kind of accomplished, but at the end of the day, the most important part was like winning this game with the boys banging at the play and Wroblewski throwing the ball really well.
You've been in this league for 13 years. When you mentioned that 1,000th career hits, that is a huge number. What does that mean to you, and just when you look at your career as a whole?
Yeah, it means a lot because I received an opportunity 13 years ago by this organization, and we continue to do that. We're going to keep winning games.
And who made the 2-step dance over here in the dugout?
Yeah, I mean, we've been doing that celebration for a couple years now that we dance a little bit. I feel it's all fun, you know. We just trying to keep it loose. We know each other really well, and I'm happy for him.
Miguel, you started your career with the Dodgers in number 72. You're back in it with your 1,000th career hit. Congratulations on a remarkable night and achievement.
Thank you very much.
All right, there he goes, Miguel Rojas. How cool is that? Got his first hit at Coors, got his 1,000th hit at Coors, and it's a tough MV3, of course. The MV3 where we pick the 3 most important players that led to this win. I think you could go Miguel Rojas. Goes 3 for 3, had a home run. Max Muncy, how could you go against Mad Max? Another multi-homer game. My MV3 for this game, going Max Muncy goes 4 for 4. 4 for 4 night for Maximum Muncy. This was the Max Muncy you're going to get. 4 for 4 with 2 home runs and 2 RBIs. Hitting .303 on the season, slugging .632. Behind him, I'm going Justin Wroblewski. And then I think I'll go Rojas. I want to go rushing because he had the 2 home runs. I'm going to go Rojas. Give me Rojas, give me Muncy, give me Justin Wroblewski. So let's talk Robo. Wroblewski follows up his 8-inning performance against the Mets with a 7-inning outing where he gave just 1 run on 8 hits through 97 pitches at Coors Field to get the win. He's 3-0 on the season. And what was so impressive about this is he's getting ahead in the count. 23 of 29 on first pitch strikes. But also, this team in the Rockies, 2 for 9 with runners in scoring position. There were so many examples where they could have scored bunches of runs, and you saw just easy ground ball outs. I mean, 2nd inning, runners in the corners. He gets back to ground to a fielder's choice. Goes to that 4-seam fastball. Just so many examples of Wroblewski getting himself out of jams. 5th inning, gave that leadoff double to Karros. Co-batters later, Beck reached on that infielder single. Runners in the corners again. Goes with that well-located 4-seam fastball around the corner to induce that soft contact and get that ground ball out. 7th inning, bottom 7, gives up another leadoff hit, Castro, and then Beck gets a 2-out single. Then again, it's the runners in the corner story. He's getting out of it. So Justin Wroblewski has made a statement early on that he is going to be in the show having a prominent role for the remainder of this season. Because we were talking about Ben Kasparius, we were talking about Bobby Miller, we were talking about Landon Knack, we were talking about Jack Dreyer. the young stud right now is Justin Wroblewski. He told me that it's about simplifying the mix, and you don't have to even be that creative if you have your four-seam and slider. It's just mixing in certain counts, executing pitches, and we saw that once again, that he's relying heavily on that four-seamer and that slider, and he's just getting the job done. I mean, I think that he's a great example of how important is it to have confidence in mound presence. He's attacking hitters one pitch at a time. The mechanics are consistent. His fastball has a lot of late life, a lot of run to it, and it's a fastball that has some ride to it. So much ride it should be doing Uber or something. I mean, the fastball is a very quality pitch for Robo. So excited to see him have this early season statement. I think he gained a lot of confidence from pitching in the World Series. Justin Wroblewski is going to be a dog for this team for the foreseeable future. Here was Wroblewski from the Dodgers clubhouse.
When you look at your last outing in this one, 8 innings of that one, 7 tonight, does it feel like you're just kind of in a groove and cruising along right now?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say so. I think, at the end of the day, I'm going out there trying to do the same thing every time, and that's fill the zone and create contact and see what happens. So, yeah, I think, we've done a great job, and Will's done a great job back there calling it. The defense has been really good. The analytics people with the positioning of everybody's been really good. But, yeah, so it's been good. I feel good.
When you look at just their lineup, how aggressive they were, how did you, one, use that to your advantage, or just use that to kind of navigate through their lineup?
Yeah, I think it was just kind of noticing some things they were trying to do early, and just kind of trying to exploit that throughout the game. And like I said, we did a great job with, pitch calling and kind of feel for what we wanted to throw and what we wanted to do, and just continue to attack the zone and keep them off balance. So that's kind of what we did all night.
Can you feel that your team, whether it's on defense or when they take their at-bats, they're kind of feeding off how you're working quickly and keeping them involved?
Yeah, I think, again, that's something you learn just from watching the game, is kind of the guys that work fast like that. And, when you're throwing well like that and getting quick outs, I think the team, for whatever reason or one reason or another, I think it just helps that out. But at the end of the day, my job is just to go out there and get outs however I can. And, yeah, it's nice when they're coming quickly, but there's going to be days where it's grindier to get those outs. And so we'll take them how we get them right now.
Is there something you did to trigger at the start of this season to continue where you picked up last year to attack the zone?
I think it's just continuing learning myself and who I am as a pitcher, and kind of, things I need to do that are different from last year, especially in a starting role. It's just there's nuance to it, and again, being a starting pitcher is a lot more about reading the game, and there's obviously a plan in place when teams face you, so it's trying to figure that out as fast as you can, and then try to exploit that once you find it out. So there's a lot of different things here and there, but I guess for the most part, to answer your question, it's been a lot of the same. A lot of just trying to fill it up and get ahead in counts and get guys out as fast as I can.
Just look at his numbers right there. A 1.88 ERA in 24 innings of work, a 3-0 record, but a 9-5 strikeout to walk ratio. That is not impressive. And I mean that as a compliment, that he can still get it done. I mean, tonight, no walks. I mean, when you pitch in Colorado, you're pitching against the altitude and the Rockies lineup, and he won both of those. So give him a lot of credit. Robo, I think, is here to stay. I really, really do. I mean, Sheehan's still in the rotation too. I mean, there's a lot of quality. I don't think all those guys are going to stay. I think that you're not going to see a world where it's going to be Sheehan and Robo if everyone's healthy sticking to that rotation. And Wroblewski's looked better than Emmett Sheehan so far. And it's been really good because with Snell out, he's a quality lefty. But let's hear from Dave after the Dodgers dominate. They rock the Rockies. After they were talking that talk, they win by a final score of 12-3. Let's hear from Dave Roberts, the Dodgers skipper.
Wroblewski, 7 innings, 1 run. He's obviously coming off an excellent outing, but for him to now piece these 2 back-to-back, what does it just say as to where he is as a starting pitcher?
Well, yeah, I mean, he's going 8 innings and 7 innings. He's just going after hitters, attacking, and he keeps the pace of play up. He puts the ball in play, and these last 2 outings have been huge for the bullpen. Allows us to reset, and getting out of Coors Field 4 games and then to have a night like tonight was big, but he's come a long way.
When you look at Max Muncy and Miguel Rojas, it felt like those two, essentially single-handedly got Jose Quintana out of this game. What did you like just from their performance offensively and how those two can really feed off each other?
Well, I think with Miggy, it was just great, being ready when called upon, and obviously with Quintana starting, being left-handed, it was good to get him in there and take the at-bats that he did. Moved him in the middle of the order, which I liked him right there tonight. And, Max just has always liked playing at Coors Field, and the numbers speak to it, and had another big night. And, with Freddie being gone and kind of just looking at the lineup, I needed him to be in there tonight, and he was more than happy to be in there and play 4 in Coors. And he hasn't done that a lot. In a 4-game series, we try to give guys a day off, but he was ready for it, and fortunately for us, he had a big night.
Was Rojas more eager to get the 1,000th hit, or you to pretend to throw the ball over the fence when he got it?
I think more.
Did you feel a split here feel disappointing, or you just survive a 4-game set here?
You know what? I think that you never like to. I don't like to lose any games, but I do think that. If you look at it in total, I think we just had a couple bad innings that cost us a couple games. But yeah, taking 2 from here, and then we'll play another division rival in the Giants for the next 3 games. And, Yoshi's already there in San Francisco, hopefully resting, and feel good about this next series.
Is this about as well as it could have gone for Russia to start the season?
Yeah, it is. It is, and the guys like him. He's comfortable, and he's we're trying to do a good job of getting him in there, getting us some at bats, and he's performing. And so, it's good to see him smile. He's really hard on himself, and expects a lot. But he's off to a tremendous start.
You mentioned moving Muncy up in the order. Was there anything more to that relatively last-minute switch?
No, it was. I just didn't. I just kind of had a feeling that I didn't know how long Quintana was going to go, and I wanted to kind of get Max in there a little bit sooner, up a little bit higher, and felt having a little protection behind him with Miguel was a good decision. And I like Alex calls at bat, so to put him in the 2, I felt he could see a lot of pitches and hopefully get to their pen. It didn't work out that way. We just got to Quintana, which was great. But they all performed well tonight.
Did Craig Counsell had some comments before the game, just basically saying it was kind of bizarre the Dodgers are allowed to get an extra pitcher essentially through the Ohtani rule? Obviously, it's not something that has to do with tonight's game, but is that something where you feel like that rule is applied fairly in a way, or what do you think about sort of how the rules kind of benefited you guys over the last couple of years?
The thing is that it certainly benefits us because we have the player, but that's something that regardless of any team that would have Ohtani would have that player, and we're more than willing to have other teams go out and find a player that can do both. So he's an exception because he's an exceptional player. So it's kind of, it is what it is.
What kind of a loss is it for this team being without a guy like Diaz for to the second half of the season?
It's a loss. It's a loss. It gives other guys opportunities, but losing your closer is a big loss, and so other guys gonna have to step up, and that's kind of, fortunately for us, we got a lot of depth, and we got some other guys should be coming back here in the next few weeks.
Awesome stuff there. I wanted to play that until the very end because Dave Roberts, he responded to Craig Counsell's comments that he made about Shohei Ohtani. And let's get into that next. And I want to get your thoughts on that during the 7th inning stretch. But Craig Counsell had a lot to say about Shohei Ohtani. And he said that basically, essentially, that it's bizarre where the Dodgers and the team that has Shohei Ohtani gets to benefit from this rule. And basically, you guys know the rule where Shohei Ohtani pitches, you essentially get an extra pitcher on the roster, and that is how it is. And we understand that, hey, this rule was in place for a long time when Shohei Ohtani is with the Angels. Craig Counsell, what he said specifically is, quote, and then there's one team that's allowed to carry basically one of both, and that he gets special consideration, which is probably the most bizarre rule for one team. So Craig Counsell is not a fan of Shohei Ohtani getting the special treatment. Hey, guess what, Craig? You can go find a pitcher that can pitch, that can also hit at the big league level, and you can take advantage of that rule. Hey, why don't you go ask Paul Skeens? Ask Paul Skeens, who hit at LSU, who modeled his game after Shohei Ohtani as a two-way player. Paul Skeens, great pitcher. Can he hit the big league level? No. If he could, then sure. You get the extra roster spot there. Also did some digging, and there is a player in the Cubs organization named Cole Mathis, who's hitting .294. He's slugging .765 in A-ball, also has a 3.6 ERA with 90 strikeouts to 30 walks and 100 college innings. Could he be a guy that in the Cubs organization could do a two-way status? Come on now. Wow. Breaking news. Having Shohei Ohtani is an advantage for your team. I mean, I think this is so ridiculous for Craig Counsell, someone who's trying to throw something out there that would ultimately hurt the game of baseball. Because the truth is that superstars like Shohei Ohtani that have a very unique ability, by unique I mean literally one of one, guess what? Deal with it. Deal with it. Cry harder, cry more, Craig Counsell. And I can't wait. Pete Crow Armstrong going to get boos. Craig Counsell's going to get boos. I mean, why would you do that, right? Does he want Ohtani to take up 2 roster spots? I mean, come on now. Let every time Shohei Ohtani pitches, we just have a position player pitching conversation. Because if Craig Counsell wanted to get in on this and the two-way player thing, well, that's the wrong place to be. Because the truth is that this is something that's probably not going to be done again. And why weren't people like Craig Counsell complaining when Ohtani was on the Angels? I mean, at the beginning there was some talk, but it's different when Shohei's on a team with stars and a better organization. So, I mean, the truth is this is why Craig Counsell is such an idiot for saying this. And that's because if Shohei counted as a normal pitcher, right? Let me lay this out there. If Shohei Ohtani counted as a normal pitcher, then the Dodgers would be at a disadvantage because one of their pitchers is taking additional risk by making 500 to 600 to 700 plate appearances a year as well as pitching. So if someone is doing something that is unique, it's one of one, the rules, they're accounting for it. It shouldn't penalize his team. It really shouldn't. The rule isn't also just for Shohei Ohtani. Like Dave Roberts said, hey, at the grassroots level, little league level, high school level, college level, whatever, find a guy that can do it. And guess what? Here's the thing that makes me so impassioned about this is I would look Craig Counsell dead in the eye right now and say, hey, Craig, if Shohei Ohtani was a Chicago Cub, would you be complaining about this? The answer is absolutely not. He would not have any issue with this whatsoever because he'd be looking at wins and 50 homer seasons and dominant pitching, right? So it's just the fact that no one else is capable of doing what he does. That shouldn't be held against Shohei Ohtani. The fact that no one can do what Shohei Ohtani can do, that's your problem, not his problem, right? So he's earned that advantage by being a one-of-one player, by being a unicorn. So I go on for days, but cry more Craig Counsell. I hope he never wins with the Cubs. I hope that they finish in last place. I hope that they hang the L flag in Chicago and that we have another 108-year World Series drought because of Craig Counsell trying to diminish and discredit essentially and try to say that the Dodgers are getting special attention. I hope that Craig Counsell ultimately loses his job one day because do not bite the hand that feeds you. Shohei Ohtani is good for the Cubs. And if I have to explain that, then you don't know ball, right? Let's be honest. So I know it's a late night. I'm a little sick. I'm a little under the weather. So I had to get that out of my system. All right, let's hear from you guys during the 7th inning stretch.
The 7th inning stretch.
Mr. Classic, just get Joey Gallo. Counsel didn't cry when Ohtani was an angel. Exactly, that's what I said. It won't work against the GOAT. We got Counsel's batting stance was a crime in and of itself. Fire take. Yeah, that bat was all high. You don't tug on Superman's cape, okay? I love that. Don, we've got Lola. People hate successful people. It's a good one. Lola, what's going on? Delirium. The jealousy throughout the league is intensifying from Delirium. Absolutely. Keith Potter, a slap hitter like Counsel, would cry about that. He absolutely would. What's up, Stanley? What's up, Snafu? Shohei revitalized the major leagues. He deserves special treatment. But like I said, this is not a Shohei Ohtani problem. This is a you problem. Okay? Get the next one. Bowden is a moron. I thought Nolan Arenado was supposed to be a Dodger during Christmas. That never happened. Delirium, I hope the Reds or Pirates win the National League Central this year. Absolutely. Counsel, not like us. There you go. Craig needs to zip it. Yeah, if you're Craig Counsel, why would you do that before? Why would you do that before you're going to face the Dodgers in their house, too? That's a big mistake. Don Davis, can y'all give T-Rex a birthday shout-out? What's up, T-Rex? Yeah, I love it. DMAC, can I get a birthday shout-out? What's up, T-Rex? There's your birthday shout-out. They give you a big blowout win on your B-Day. Okay, let's do some more comments here. What's up, Jay Smooth? You guys are killing me with the comments. I love it. He's Shohei Ohtani. He's different than you, Craig. There you go. Okay. Cancel Counsel. Ruben, I love the passion, but that's a little too much. I'm going to cancel the dude. Okay. Why don't we call this dude Cancun Cancel? Cancun Counsel when the Cubs inevitably end up there. Clayton Tennis, DMAC, until the bullpen recovers, Shohei needs to have the energy to go 7 innings, so the Dodgers need to have the hot rushing be the DH on Wednesday. I'm totally here for that. If it's a couple, I don't want to see this take 100 to 200 at-bats away from Shohei, but if it's 30, 40 throughout the course of the season and allows him to zero in on start days, which I think he wants to do because he wants to win the Cy Young, and then Dalton Rushing, Dalton Rushing told me himself that Shohei told him to hit a home run. That tells you that Shohei was on board. He even joked that hey, we had a pretty good DH there. So I think that Shohei's enjoying this. I think he trusts his teammates to pick up the slack offensively when he's out there. So I'm in on that plan. Like I said, I don't want it to take away the entire unicorn experience. I want to see at least 20 starts where he pitches and he hits. But if this is a way for him to perform better on the mound, to get rushing at bats, to get himself in a position to win the Cy Young, then I'm all for that. So I like that. Craig Cancel. There we go. All right, you guys, that's the comment of the show. Cancel Counsel. Counsel is trash. Okay, Kung Fu, Fusty. The only point that needs to be made is what you already said. The things people complain about will be a non-issue if they benefited from them. Yeah, exactly, man. He's getting my DFA of the day. DFA of the day. All right, guys, so your boy's cooked. Not feeling good, under the weather. I'm going to rest because you got the Giants tomorrow. The hated ones. Up in San Francisco, the first meeting of the season. One of the great rivalries in all of sports takes place tomorrow up at Oracle Park. But that's going to do it. My name is Doug McKain. You can follow me on X and Instagram at DMAC_LA. Do me a huge favor on the way out. Hit the subscribe button. Hit the notification bell. Drop a like. Drop a comment. And until next time, think blue, bleed blue, and I am out.